David and Zach Vucurevich are a father-son duo that do a lot together in the outdoors. And this year, David decided he wanted to do a bucket list elk hunt in New Mexico. Sit back. This is a fantastic story that talks about how the right training program with the right mindset and the right goals not only turns into high success, but adventure and the memory of a lifetime. Are you ready? Episode 12 of the Fit to Hunt podcast, powered by Wilderness Athlete, starts now. Gentlemen, let's give this a second try here. Hey, everybody. We are back with the first episode here with the Vucureviches of, the most epic elk hunt, I think, in 2025 so far. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining us this evening. I appreciate it. Not without a little bit of technical difficulties, but appreciate you hopping on here tonight.
All good.
Yep.
Glad to be here.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You said when we were talking before we got started here, guys getting ready for the Christmas season?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be upon us before you know it.
We went out to, we've been going to the same Christmas tree farm. So I guess I've been married 25 years now. So 26
Congratulations.
years. Thank you on that. And so yeah, I asked the kids today, do you want to go just to get a tree here locally? You want to go? And they said, no, let's head on out. So it's about a 90-minute drive. You're right out there. Hop in a hay wagon, grab a saw. It's kind of fun.
Absolutely. That's great. Traditions are nice.
Traditions are nice. So
I've never harvested a Christmas tree. We never did that. Maybe we should do that next year.
I did one time when I was in college in New Mexico. We went up into the Pecos National Forest and we harvested a tree. We had a guy in my class who was from Nigeria, and we ended up getting stuck because the road when we drove in was slushy, and when we tried to get out, it was frozen. I had a 2-wheel drive truck. It was a nightmare. Anyway, that's another story.
Another story for another time. Zach, I am
Exactly.
thinking about, I'll talk to the boys. I am thinking about getting some spruces and planting them on the farm just for giggles in case we want to cut one down ourselves one day.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be kind of fun.
I was talking to my dad about doing some Christmas trees at the river.
Yeah, just for funsies. So, well, listen, I wanted to hear a story. So you guys went on a pretty epic, not just elk, David. I want to get into also the whitetail in Kentucky that you harvested off the home farm as well. But going elk hunting anywhere is a challenge. You're in New Mexico. Talk me through this process. Let's go from the very beginning when you decided I'm going to do this. I know Zach went out a few years ago. Did that have any influence on you wanting to go out and do this yourself?
Yeah, it was a bucket list thing for me. I turned 67 this year, and as we grow older, we start to realize that this unit doesn't last forever,
right.
And there are some things that you may want to do that do require some pretty exhaustive physical labor to get them done if you're going to. And it was a situation where some friends of ours had booked a hunt in New Mexico, very close to where I went to high school, grew up in the Gila Wilderness area, and had backpacked that country, hunted mule deer and cow's deer, whitetails out there growing up. But being from the Southwest, I thought if I was going to go elk hunting, I'd really like to go in either Arizona or New Mexico. And when this opened up in the Gila, I was in. I'm going to do it. I also, from my backpacking days, though, in the Gila, was very familiar with the terrain.
Okay.
And it is brutal. Big canyons, very steep grades, rocky conditions. Not the kind of area you want to get into and get yourself hurt. And when you're talking wilderness, there's only one way out, and that's either they're going to get you on horseback or they're going to helicopter you out.
Sure.
So, top of mind for me, even though I, stay in pretty good shape between the work we do at the farm and around the house, and my wife and I are very good at exercising, moderately during the week. So I had a pretty good foundation going, but I was just really concerned about, I got a backpack on. It's 25, 30 pounds. I'm carrying a gun. I'm going down a steep grade. I'm twisting and turning and,
Sure.
stepping over brush and deadfall and things like that. Super easy to strain something or pull something. And it's a big investment to go on a hunt like this. Back of my mind was, hey, Zach, I know we follow Jeremy Fit to Hunt. And, what do you think about us maybe doing a program that can really kind of put some polish on our conditioning before we go down there, especially me?
Mhm.
A lot of the muscle groups, core groups that I know are going to be really important. What do you think? And he was like, well, I think it's a good idea.
Right.
And so, Zach, you can share a little bit about that journey and going through that and getting ready for the hunt.
Yeah, so as soon as I found out that we were actually doing this thing, I was trying my best to get you guys in contact and get this program started. To me, time was money for something like this. We wanted to be as in shape and capable as possible. I'm not the one behind the trigger, but I got plenty of stuff that I'm hauling around trying to get the most out of this trip. Like my dad said, it was a bucket list thing for him. So I knew I was going to be behind the camera. I knew I was going to not only bring the handy cam, but bring my Sony, because I wanted to take some stills. I was going to have a lot of weight in that department. Bringing food out there. I wanted to be, I had trekking poles with me if I needed them. I wanted to be able to grab my dad's trekking poles when he didn't need them. I needed to be ready to grab anything and haul anything, not to mention getting an elk out wherever we ended up getting one down. So as soon as we could get started on a program, it was just a big step forward from just the rucking and walking that he had been doing in the past. So I was really excited about getting into some mobility stuff and balance. I knew that was going to be a huge thing for me. I worked for the Forest Service in New Mexico, and I was in the southeastern side of the state outside of Carlsbad, but it was very similar terrain, the Guadalupes and the Gila. It's steep, it's rocky, nothing stays settled, even on the roads in trails out there, you're still walking on rocks and cobbles, and nothing's easy. So you have to earn every inch of it. And it was great. It was great getting into a program that really, emphasizes being able to catch yourself and be able to make movements, with those a lot of lunges and stuff. That all that core and stability. You can't replace it. You can't go out there, especially as soon as you throw a pack on your back too. Put that on top of it, and then that balance, all of a sudden it's compounded. It's that much easier to fall off center. So
Yep.
I was excited that we finally got started, and we're gearing up for that hunt. And we got a pretty tricky email right before it got started. So I don't know if my dad wants to get into that. We were getting ready for a rifle hunt long distance, and almost got thrown off at the end.
Yeah, it was having grown up there, we had some stops. I was going to go visit my mom in Arizona, 92.
Oh boy.
What a blessing
No
to be
kidding.
able to spend a couple of days with her. And then we were headed to Silver City. And I was going to, introduce Zach to some of my high school basketball teammates. And then I had a valedictorian of our class, our graduating class in 76. His family was a ranching family in New Mexico, bordered the Gila area, big ranch, like what's Tom's 117,000 acres, including the grazing rights. I mean, it's a big place.
Wow.
And he really is involved in a lot of the work that's being done around habitat restoration and conservation. Water obviously is key in the Southwest, and the farmers invest millions and millions of dollars into water systems for their cattle, which is also used by all the wildlife there. And they're obviously having their own battles to fight with the reintroduction of the Mexican gray wolf and the challenges that creates. But Tom was adamant we were going to see his farm when we got there and spend the night before we headed into elk camp, as it would be a couple days before we left got an email from the outfitter that we originally booked with that they had double sold the landowner tags and we didn't have a hunt. Yeah, it was stunning. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? This can't be. I called Tom to let him know that we weren't going to be, we just weren't going to be coming in because the hunt was off. And he says, wait just a second. I'm going to call my neighboring rancher that runs an outfitting company called Trophy Ridge Outfitters. And that by the end of that day, we were rebooked, myself and also our friends that were going to hunt. They had one tag as well. And it was in a different unit, but not far, maybe 20 miles from where we were going to be hunting before. Actually, a better unit from an elk population standpoint. And the only downside, if you want to call it that, was it was primitive weapon. So it was open sight muzzleloader only.
Got it.
Or archery.
Got it.
And so a little bit more challenging. You don't have the range you have with a 300 Win Mag and a 5x25 Vortex. It's just, you can't get out there that far. But after all the work we put into it and the excitement, and we were packed, literally, we had the trailer packed. We were driving out 2 days later. And so, it all came together. We started the Flatlander to Backcountry program, I think the 1st of August.
1st of August.
The hunt was the middle of October. And we went through 6 to 7 weeks, I would say, with the program. And the last week before we left, we were, trying to recover, make sure our bodies were ready to go. But we were prepared, and it was incredible. The days, I think Zack tracked most of the days, but I think in the 2.5 days before I got this bull, we had covered around 15 miles and about 1,900 vertical feet. So it may not sound like that much, 5 miles a day, but when you're on, very, very steep, uneven, and it was an incredible experience, though. The rut was late because of the hot fall. The temperatures were high. So the elk were I don't know if it was peak rut, but it was pretty close because they were bugling all night long. We could hear them at the lodge at night. Minute we got up in the morning, they were bugling. And the typical set, we'd get up early, an hour before sunlight. We'd go out and find a vantage point that we were hunting with a guide, and then we would glass, and we'd listen for them bugling. And then they would determine, okay, this is the wind direction. This is where they're moving. I know where they're going. And then it was, Jeremy, I'm telling you, it was off to the races. It was not, okay, let's casually walk over. You had to get on your horse and go. Actually, I wish I had a horse. It was just go. And it was more of a trot than a walk.
Right.
And it was incredible. But we were blessed to the third morning coming out of a group, actually 2 different groups. And what was very ironic is when we visited Tom's ranch the Thursday before the hunt started on Saturday, he took us out to this one part of his ranch where there was an old homestead, and he had some irrigated fields. And Tom says, well, these fields, I wish I could keep the elk off of them. They come off the national forest down onto these irrigated fields where he keeps his bulls. And then they go up this ridge and go right through this little gap in the rim rock. It was like a mesa, and there's a big rim rock along the top, except for one small area. I didn't realize it when we left that morning, that third morning to hunt. We were coming in from the national forest side, and we were chasing these elk right toward that gap in the rim rock. And I shot this 6x6 bull right in that gap. And he and the cows, there was probably 20, 25 cows that were with this bull. They were coming up to go through the rim rock toward us. And Zack, what was behind them?
There, we looked down in the canyon down in the valley after my dad shot, and there was 5 Mexican wolves running across the
Oh,
valley.
wow.
The cows sucked into a group, and they
Wow.
kind of loped off up the mountainside. Not long after they
But
started howling. It was cool.
it was pretty. It was, you know, for a hunt to set up the way it did.
Yeah.
I could literally see Tom's home a couple miles away, where we had stayed the day before we went into elk camp, and he was probably more excited than I was, because I took a bull out that had been feeding
Off of his.
in his field. Yeah, he was pretty excited about it. It was incredible, and I was able to get a shot. I don't know, it was maybe 60 yards. It was not far.
I was going to ask how far the shot. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that far at all. And they had no idea we were there. We had perfect wind when they were coming up through that gap in the rim rock. We were literally standing on the rim rock looking down at them, and we had to wait. And, you know, Zach got some great video of, he was back over my shoulder taking video when the guide was, you know, shouting, and well, not shouting, but whispering instructions. You know, there were a lot of elk, and they were all moving at the same time, and the bull was slowly coming up, and there were cows all around him. And you know, we didn't want to accidentally hit a cow or injure another animal. But it was pretty incredible. It really was. We had a great time.
So
got him back.
Was the guide were you calling, or was this more of a hunt where you saw where they were moving, and like you said, you made the switch to cut them off, or a bit of both?
Well, there were two different bulls. The bull that we were chasing to get to the point where we were at, we got winded by a couple cows that were with that bull. We didn't have good wind based on the direction they were going, and they were headed actually away from that gap in the rim rock, but we thought they may come back around and drop down through that gap. So we kind of, you know, went the other direction to a degree to get around to that gap before they would, if that was the direction they ended up going. And it was a completely different bull, completely different group of elk that, you know, we just lucked up. They were coming up that ridge through that gap up on top where they would graze in bed. But yeah, he was calling. We weren't bugling. He was just using a cow call, mouth call. And you know, we were in them. That was for sure. They're amazing. You know, we were sitting the second day, and a little calf got separated from the group. We knew they were back up behind us, and we could hear her, and she walked within probably 6 inches of Zack, this little calf, and just crying out to try to locate the rest of the herd. It was almost a supernatural experience. It was incredible.
That kind of gives you chills, just all that right there, man. That's pretty. Just how everything came together. I mean, that's such a blessing from God, right? I mean, because it wasn't going to happen, and then all of a sudden, not only did it happen, but maybe happened better than what you could have possibly dreamed of. I mean, that's your bucket list.
Without a doubt. When that bull finally expired, its legs were tangled up in his buddy Tom's fence. Like, literally, like,
wow,
it was pretty incredible.
It was amazing, and the odds, you know. A little side note, Audrey McQueen, who owns the Trophy Ridge, she's a 9-time world champion elk caller, by the way. She hunts every fall with a friend of ours who is with Real Tree Outdoors, David Blanton. So David, we've got to know him over the years. He's hunted turkey on our farm before, and every year he elk hunts with her. And what are the odds of us, you know, ending up with the same outfitter that David hunts with all the time? I sent him a picture of me and Audrey, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he was thrilled when we got one. It was amazing. We had a great time. It was so much fun. And the you know, the outfitters, the guides they had were fantastic. I mean, definitely recommend if anyone is interested in a hunt like that out west there and they're willing to work. You know,
Right.
there was a pretty broad spectrum of folks in camp. I think we had 10 hunters. So they were full, but they ranged in those of us. There were probably three of us that were there to do what it took to go get one. And then there were others that had varying, you know, degrees of capability, I would say. And they kind of accommodated them in different ways by taking them out into different areas. But it was a top-notch place. It was great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You were talking about
Food was awesome too.
Food's awesome. You were talking about your rucking. So you started the program 6 to 7 weeks ahead of time. How far in advance were you walking and hiking? I want to hear more about that too.
Well, I generally, I would say on the average, I do some type of exercise for about an hour, whether it's, you know, a day, at least 5 days a week, just kind of as my baseline.
That's what you do, right?
Just what I do. Yeah. And that's either walking with my wife or Peloton or, you know, lifting weights. I've got a machine and so it's just maintenance stuff.
Sure.
Jeremy. I mean, I know it's good for me because my head feels a lot better, you know, when I do work out. And then when we booked the hunt in March was when I really started to say, okay, I got to get serious about this. I got to start increasing my miles. I got to do, you know, more hills, you know, just changing the foundation a little bit more. I still rode the bike but I added a ruck and I was carrying a 30-pound ruck and I did about 400 miles between March and when we left. I keep track of the mileage and things like that. And usually in 4 or 5 mile workouts is kind of the rate that I would do it.
Which is about what your daily.
Yeah, what we're doing on a daily
basis. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So what?
A lot flatter terrain.
hence the Flatlander to backcountry. I got you.
Yep.
So what was the date or around the date that you shot that elk? That was early first week October?
It was the 20th of October.
20th of October. Okay.
Yep.
So you get that, you come home and you climb in your blind at the farm. You had a heck of a 4-week time frame. I mean, tell me a little bit about what you did there too. I've seen the pictures already.
Yeah, I've been on a pretty epic redneck roll as it pertains to hunting. You know, we in no small part due to a lot of the work that Zack's done with respect to the habitat work on this farm that we've got in Kentucky. We've gotten to the point where, you know, we're hunting mature deer every year. Sometimes it might be there might be 3 running around, and when we say mature, 4.5 and older. And you know, we work with our neighbors, and it's just a great place for our family to go and do the thing we love, which is hunt whitetail deer. I didn't really hunt much in bow season. Zack took a really nice full velvet buck. I think the second day of bow season in September, and then just due to travel schedules, and you know, my wife was a 3-time state basketball champion in South Dakota, so we went to her class reunion, and you know, and it really was a jammed September right into October. Went on the elk hunt, got back, and a rare occasion for us, Zack's older brother came out to hunt.
Okay.
And we hadn't all 3 hunted together in a long time at the same time. So it was really an awesome 3 or 4 days. We knew that this buck was on the property. Zack had some trail cam pictures of him on a scrape. Really nice buck, double drop tines, and then stickers on the G2. It was a mainframe 8, but a really unique deer. And it was I think 3rd day of gun season, Zack? 3rd or 4th day, something like that. Maybe the 5th day of gun season. And the bucks were still rutting. I had sat that evening. I decided right at sunset to rattle really hard, get pretty aggressive, which I did. I had Zach. I asked him about using a Montana decoy, and he's like, "Yeah, you should." With standing corn around the outside of it, and I was literally packing my stuff. There was about 10 minutes of shooting light left, and I put my rangefinder into my backpack, and I looked out the side window of the blind. There's a hillside to the left, and most of the time they'll bed up there or back in the hollow, and they'll come into the clover from the hillside, which was I was set up for. I had a tripod. I had my long range rifle because we could shoot up to 400 yards from that blind if needed, and I had it on a death grip tripod. Wouldn't you know, I looked out the side window, and there he is, like 60 yards away, and he's working around to get downwind of this doe decoy and come back. And I tried to get up on him, and because I have a suppressor on this rifle, I had to literally lift the tripod up and move it so that I could get a shot at him. And as soon as I put the scope on him, he was standing broadside staring at me about 80 yards away. And I just took my safety off and squeezed one off, and he took off, and I could tell he was hurt pretty bad. And Zack texted me and said, "Hey, was that you that shot?" Because he was in another blind. And I just said, "Yeah." We called this buck Stickers, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "I think I just killed Stickers," and he was like, "I can't believe it. There's no way." And sure enough, that was the buck I took, and 2 6x6s. So it was a pretty good year.
It's a darn good year, man. I tell you what, Zach's kept on me for 2 years now. I'm coming down this summer. That's just how that's going to work. I gotta come see this place.
Please, you should. It's a little slice of heaven, I'm telling you. As good as the hunting is on the property, the fishing there on the Cumberland River tailwater that runs alongside the farm there is pretty epic trout fishing. It's pretty good.
That's awesome.
It might not be as good as some places in the lower 48, but it's pretty darn good for the Southeast.
Well, let me ask you this. So you obviously, you said you kept yourself in good shape all the time. Both, it makes you feel good physically, helps you mentally. You ramped up for the hunts. Like, what are you doing now? Are you still staying in a pretty good routine just every day?
Yeah, I still maintain kind of that baseline, 5 or 6 workouts a week, and typically it's an hour and a half, something like that. But a mix of Peloton, bike, weights. I have incorporated a few of the exercises that I liked out of the Flatlander program, the monkey dips and things like that. Those are things that really kind of help pull the core in a little bit more. And so I think at the end of the day, the better we feel physically, the better we are mentally and emotionally too. And it's a gift from God to be able to do these things at this age of my life, and I'm going to keep doing it until I can't do it. And hopefully I'll have a couple other bucket list things I can get done here in the next year or two.
I start saying, Mr. David, keep it up, because what we've seen, and it's kind of funny, we work with clientele. I mean, I work with high school athletes too. I think the oldest person I'm working with right now is 82. And
wow,
if you want to know if you want to know what the blueprint of not even longevity, but just enjoying this farm, going on these trips with your kids, it's this. It's not a complicated calculus. It's doing what you're doing every day, which is 5 to 6 workouts. Hey, you can always ramp it up. And that's what I would encourage.
Sure.
Keep yourself in good shape. And then if
Yeah.
something pops up next year, you're going to go on a trip.
Yep.
You ramp it up. So
Yep.
awesome work, man. Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, gentlemen, what's the plans for Christmas? Who's traveling where?
My wife and I are here in Franklin, Tennessee alone this Christmas.
Okay.
Nick and Amy and the grandkids are coming up after Christmas from West Virginia. I think you're going to Cincinnati, aren't you, Zach?
Going to Cincinnati for the first part, and then the 20th, I'm driving here right after because Nick's coming the day after Christmas.
Yeah. So we'll all be
my
here.
brother got a new a yellow lab. He's very Thor-esque. His name's Kirk, so I'm excited for that pup to make it. That's the first yellow lab of the family, Jeremy. We've always been black labs in this house.
Yeah.
One of my good friends.
So we're excited.
One of my good friends, client. He's got a new pup along the way, and he's a black lab through and through. I'm a yellow dog. That's just how it's going to be. I mean, that's just that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
It's all good.
If I don't talk to you again beforehand, Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for hopping on here. I wanted to get your story because your story is the kind of story that gets other people to take this stuff into consideration, and you did it beautifully. So it's awesome to hear you guys had such an experience, and I really appreciate you hopping on here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy, and have a Merry Christmas yourself. Can't thank you enough for the program, and keep doing the work you're doing because it makes a huge difference. And if anyone's considering doing what we did, I would say it's a no-brainer.
No.
Get on a program.
Thank you much for that compliment. I appreciate it. All right, guys, we'll catch you later.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Bye now.
I really enjoyed that conversation, not just because I really have fun talking with those two, but really the whole concept between how David understands the importance of staying in shape and what it took to get ready for the challenge of that particular hunt. And I also like the fact that he's going to keep up with it. And I know he will because Zach is a workout machine, and I don't think he's going to let Dad slump off. Well, here we are. Episode 12. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of this new thing that we tried in 2025. As we go through and talk about, the things that we have done over the last year, I want to go through and talk just a moment about the partners that we work with. First and foremost, our title sponsor, Wilderness Athlete. Let me just stop and say that of the partners that we work with them because we want to work with them, not because we have to work with them. And we have been part of the Wilderness Athlete family really since Fit to Hunt started in 2014. Blessed to bring on other companies as well. This year, we partnered with Maverick Lines, which I have absolutely fallen in love with our six shooter, is what it's called. It is absolutely easy to assemble. It's lightweight. It's durable. It's everything that I was hoping it would be and more. And what makes it even better is that it's sitting right on a field of Hitless seed. Again, Tim and the folks over at Hitless have trusted us to help them build their brand. And as we've embarked on really trying to change the habitat at our ranch that we call Whispering Pines, it's been a godsend. It's really been awesome to work with them. Game Cuffs, another partner that has been fantastic to work with. Great quality, veteran owned, inexpensive, and something that you're going to want in your pack. And last but not least are our friends at the Beast Mode Archery Challenge. Brian and the crew, I go up every year in July for the King of the Hill 3D shoot. And I got to tell you, it's something I look forward to every single year. He puts on fantastic events. The challenge programs help you really understand if you are ready to head out west. And they're just a group of great guys. Last but not least, if we can help you in the coming year, I want you to take a look at our DIY workout programs, much like David did to get ready for his elk hunt. Or if you're really wanting to dive in, take a look at our online coaching programs that we do remote. It's something that if you're looking for the full package, we can get you there and more. Listen, again, we appreciate you. We appreciate the fact that you hang in here with us, that you listen, and that you want to be part of this lifestyle, this community, this family. From all of us here at Fit to Hunt, I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a blessed and healthy 2026. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. And as always, I think you know the drill. You guys stay fit to hunt.